Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you're tuning in from. This is a BS Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. And today we are going to be sharing our thoughts on higher education. If you're new to this podcast,
keep going.
This is probably one of the more serious ones we've done. We usually like being silly, like talking about the best concerts we've been to, or, bringing items back to medieval Europe and destroying our whole future. But besides the point, we're going to be sharing our thoughts with our experience on higher education and what we kind of think about
it. I'm sorry. The reason I laughed is just going from recording our last one to that opening is it's just funny to me.
The one we recorded before this, we were going through stuff on our desks, which was also fun to do, and we have a lot of weird stuff on our desks. I don't know if this is going before that one or after, whatever. Great video. Check it out when it's out.
It's just fun and jarring to go from that to this, and you'll see why if you watch the other one.
When you watch the other one.
Yeah. Now, when you will watch the other one. Anyways,
higher education.
Where's I going to go? I lost my train of thought already. Higher education, yes. Well, okay, I'll put it this way. I'll start off by saying this. I don't necessarily think higher education is a bad decision. It can definitely be greatly beneficial for you, especially if the career you want requires additional schooling. It's fantastic.
However,
big underline on however, college was pushed so hard for so long, in my opinion, so that now that everyone's going, colleges know that they can sucker you in to big debt right away because, well, everyone feels like they're supposed to go to college. Sign your name on this line and you'll be having all future your little heart can desire, little future man. Go do school. And you're going, oh, okay, because you're fresh out of high school, you don't know squat. And if you're watching this and you're 18, I hate to tell you this, you don't know a thing. You think you do, I promise. You will find out so much more. You've learned a lot now, you're going to learn a lot more. But colleges, they love to take advantage of kids in that regard, at least is what I feel on it. Do you have any sort of follow-up on that?
So for follow-up, when I went to college, and for background, I went to college 1 year and flunked out, and that helped me learn a lot and gained a lot of perspective, and I'll go into as much as I can in this short episode. But where I went to college was in the Fargo, North Dakota, Moorhead, Minnesota area, so I had like 5 options to choose from. And I decided on the tech school. And I'll get into that a little bit, but hearing other people that I met, and I met people that went to NDSU, MSUM, Concordia, them talking about how much college costs compared to my college costs was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have thought NDSU was the most expensive. In some cases, Concordia was. And if you don't know that school, that explains my point perfectly. Like, I'm hearing, like, oh yeah, I gotta pay $60,000 in 2 years. It's like, why?
And that's so much money. Well, and I should say this is it's not necessarily. Sometimes there are reasonably priced schools. And if you can find a reasonably priced school, that is fantastic. However, some of these colleges charge, exorbitant amounts for the tuition. And I feel terrible because, it brings in these kids and you don't realize the scope of how much money that is at the time. You're like, oh yeah, $60,000. That's kind of a lot, but it's doable, I guess, because you don't have a frame of reference for what 60,000 is actually worth. But then when you get a little bit later on and you see that, you're like, oh my God, that is so much money to just commit yourself to right away. You know what I mean? And and I think the thing that is most bothersome to me is that you can't default on your school loans. There's no bankruptcy. They stick with you forever. And that's my issue with it. That's why I don't think everyone should jump to college right away unless you know that's exactly what you want to do. Great, go for it. I'm not the one to tell you no. But it just bothers me when people are like, "Oh, you have to go to college for a good job." No, you can work a little first. You can gain some life experience. You don't have to jump into that right away.
Which is a great segue for like the biggest thing I learned. For me, I went into college. I went for IT. Within 2 months, withdrew from the whole major because I realized it's not something I wanted to do. If you withdraw that late, you got to pay that money as well. So for me, and I wasn't even dead set on IT, I just thought it was something I would like. My big, probably my number one is don't go to college if you don't know what you want to do. But I will have a counterpoint. If you don't know what you want to do, but you want to get college credit, go for generals like Ian did. Like that way, you have those base classes covered, and then if it takes you a couple of years to decide, you just go right in, and it's like you're a sophomore in college
You're
by then.
fast tracked right along. You're already moving there.
So for me, I spent a year. I spent one semester just not doing classes I loved, and then really tanking my GPA, and then the second semester didn't help much either. But I had no idea what I wanted to go for. The good thing that what I did is I went to a tech school. Now, when I was touring those other bigger colleges in the area, because I did tour a couple, one semester at one of the bigger colleges was 15 grand for 1 year. Or no, one semester. So 30,000 for 2 years. 2 semesters. Oh my goodness, these numbers are getting I'm
Math.
sorry. 1 year,
The
30
math.
grand. 1 year, 30 grand. My 1 year in tech school, 5 grand. And I paid
Wait.
it off within 2 years. Mostly because I didn't want to have, I get very anxious around debt. So I like to try and pay it off as quick as possible. But for me, I didn't have to worry about student loans within 3 years of me leaving while flunking out because they said you can't come back anyways. Uh, Another big piece of advice if you want to do college but you're not sure what you want to do, like I said, do generals, but do it at a tech school. Especially if there's a tech school by a big college you might want to go to, because my tech school, since it was in the area of those other 3 colleges I mentioned, your generals transferred. So you could do a year of your generals for 1/6 of the price, and then when you're ready to go to the big school and you know what you want to do, you just transfer right over to there.
Boom. Away you go.
A
And I know
lot of people did that.
I know there are some people who dog on tech schools, and certainly not all tech schools are the same and offer the same programs. But honestly, it's a fantastic alternative. I mean, just to say this for anyone out there who might be having second thoughts, I would say 9 times out of 10 in the outside world, where you went to school does not matter at all. In most of the careers that you want to go or that are available, I should say. There's a select few where, being from an Ivy League school, they'll look at and go, "Oh, well, you're graduated from that." But that's very rare cases. 9 times out of 10, it does not matter if you went to a tech school. All they will see is that you perform those classes at a school and you pass them.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's much more cost effective that way. And also, I would say is just once again, don't feel pressured to pick right away, but just explore your options. Do research, look at different programs. take some time, get some experience under your belt, find out what you actually like to do and what you realize that maybe you once thought you would like to do now sucks. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting some experience under you so that you go into making the decision informed, and then you don't bury yourself in debt for something that, someone would have just said, hey, you don't got to do that. You know, just dial it back. Just dial it back a little bit.
For me, I felt like I had to go into college. Like Ian said, don't feel that way. I know that's easier said than done, but that's literally everything. If you don't, if you're not really feeling college right out of high school, don't go. Join the workforce. And for me, funnily enough, senior year, I wrote a paper on why you shouldn't do that. And I made some good points. My sister took a break year after high school, and I didn't. And I don't think she went fully into a degree. I know she's tried a few things, but she's has some college, and she's not weighted down by a bunch of student loans for no reason. Me, luckily, I'm not weighted down by student loans, but just it was not a good idea for me to go. I was not quite mentally prepared for it. So don't feel like you have to. And I especially learned that when I was 19 going to college, and I had 46-year-olds in college with me. So, like, once you're in college, you're all at the same level. Does not matter how
Yeah.
old you are, you're all at the same
Ever,
level.
everyone's going at their own pace, regardless of where you are at in your own life. And I would partition it. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with going to school if you have a solid roadmap and you know what you want and you have a plan on how to get there. Fantastic. Happy for you. Fingers crossed that it works out in your favor. I'm rooting for you. But also remember that education and practical experience go hand in hand like plain food and spices. Too much of one means that you've got all this education, but you are yet untested. So, they don't know what you're going to perform like under actual world pressure. And then on the other hand, a bunch of experience, but no education means, well, here's somebody who's content at being, a laborer. Maybe not the case, but they're looking at it going, well, here's somebody who is not moving, making steps to go up the ladder. So saying they go hand in hand. That's the general message I'm trying to get across. They work with each other. You can attack either one that you want to first. Just remember that one without the other is it won't get you very far on its own.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm a really good case for like not going to college and still being able to get a lot of experience.
Hmm.
So we talked about this in like our high school video as well. Check that out. Uh, but for me, at 20 years old, through how I am now, 26, I have about 4 years of managerial experience. I have 4 years of sales experience. I have three. It's debatable. You could count the one job as warehouse, but 3 to 7 years of warehouse experience, almost 7 years of forklift experience and heavier machinery.
Fork, Forklift certified.
Forklift certified. I
That's the goal.
I've flown planes for business trips in my early 20s, and I didn't mentally realize that until a couple weeks ago when I talked about it with someone. There, he's like, "Yeah, I'm 40 and I never took a plane for work. That's really cool." I'm like, "I didn't think of it that way." I'm just like, "Oh, that's just something they told me I had to go do." But
Yeah, it'd be like, oh yeah, just get on a plane, and you weren't even thinking about it in the sense of, wow, I get to do this. It was, oh boy, I get to go on a plane and go have a business meeting.
for for me, it's like I have all this experience, like sales. I've heard is like a number one skill you should get. So I would just work retail 1 year, please. Everyone needs to. Please, for the love of everything. So much will make sense. Please work sales. 1 year of your life. It'll change
I
you
could never work
forever.
retail. I would yell at somebody.
Either
I would yell at
either
somebody.
retail or server. Like those go hand in hand. You're dealing with people and you can't lose your mind at them. Pretty much.
See, the problem is that it's not that I'm like an angry person. Like I just can't handle stupid people who are
Oh,
stupid by their own fault. I'm like, man, how do you not see what is right in front of your face? It
yeah.
just
It changes your perspective on life, for sure. But for me now, I'm set up with all this experience that I'm thinking about going back to college, just trying to narrow down exactly what. And then after, I can just go like, hey, I did all this, and now I'm gonna go to tech school probably, and probably do a trade of some sort. Also, trades are underrated, super underrated. I'll just throw that out there. Um,
got to throw out the trades line.
yeah, like starting pay is weak for like a year or two, and then it's just like, okay, let's bump you up a lot. But that's I could go into trades another time, but trades are underrated, and I think I kind of lost my train of thought. But I'm set up with so much experience when I didn't know what I wanted to do, and a lot of it I didn't realize that um, what I was doing was actually helping whatever career I want to do. I was I was set up with a lot of experience, and now I can go back into college, finish a year or two, and then like I'm pretty much set up. I'm set up very very well. I just got to figure out what I want to do, and with sales and managerial experience in my early 20s, like I still have those skills. They don't just go away.
Building skills is the important base of all of it. I don't know. I guess essentially, just to wrap things up in a nice, neat little bowl, wrap it up in a bowl, wrap it up in a bow. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to stretch here because I'm sore. Oh my god, my arms look gross when I do that. I'm not going to do that. To wrap it up in a nice little bow, choose your path forward based on how much you know, I guess I would say, about yourself and what you want to do. I know that's a big question to ask. It's a lot to ask of yourself, even, but remember that college and like that money and that payment is a big commitment. And it's a commitment that will follow you around for quite a while. So if it seems a bit daunting, there is absolutely no shame in taking your time and gaining some experience in the workforce and building your skills to use for when you finally decide to actually go to school.
Yep,
And who knows, maybe you might find yourself in a better financial situation to help pay for your schooling, and so you won't have to take on such an immense debt immediately.
that's literally why you can be put on academic suspension. That it's the college's nice way of, well, one, like we don't want you dropping our rating as a school because of your bad grades, but two, it's like we don't want you to put yourself in an awful financial situation if you're not ready, which is what happened to me. And I'm honestly grateful for that, because otherwise I would not have, I would have done my years of school and be like, hey, you didn't pass and you owe 60 grand. So, also with what Ian was saying, if it takes you a decade to figure out what you want to go to school for, take the decade, build up some skills. And if you're not sure, 2 decades. Go back whenever you want. And if you find a good paying job, like I have my roommate is a great example of this. He's just learned so many trades from all the jobs. Like, he doesn't have a college diploma or anything, but he knows so much. And at 27, like, he's making bank for the most part, for lack of a better term. Like, he's
as the kids say, we are making bank.
and
We are, in fact, getting that bread.
and he's just super skillful and just pretty much any trade. Like, he knows bits and pieces just because he's had to learn it on the job. So, like, don't feel bad if you don't know what you want to do. Take your time.
Remember, kids, experience and education, hand in hand. That's the lesson. That's the serious advice. The most serious this advice that you'll probably ever get from this channel. Everything else is absolute and utter trash. Don't listen to it because 90% of the time we're dumb. Here's another thing I found on my desk. It's a piece of tape that I rolled up during the course of making this video. I'm just gonna toss that on there because I feel like it.
Good way to end it. Do you have any final thoughts or?
My final thoughts are quotes, which I've picked a really good quote. I think you're gonna like this one.
I was gonna skip quotes actually, but yeah, you go for it. I'll look for mine.
I like work. It fascinates me. I can sit and look at it for hours. Yeah, I like to look at work too. I like to watch it as it passes by its deadline and go, "Oops."
Mine is by Socrates, or Socrates, as some people like to say.
Socrates, like good old fashioned Greek philanthropist, thinker, intellectual, Bophades.
Philosopher.
Yeah, Bophades. You ever heard of him?
Don't.
Come on, you ever heard of Bophades?
I'm not falling for that. The unexamined life is not worth living. That's a little deep, but I haven't done a philosopher quote.
How do I examine my life? Do I got to take a magnifying glass? Did he specify? Is there a specific way I have to?
So good luck.
Shame.
It's college. You just got to figure it out.
Just figure it out, man.
And there's plenty of people around that can help you along your journey. And if you have any questions, comment down below and we'll help as best we can. But thank you for BSing with us. Become a bud today by subscribing and leave a like and a comment. And we will see you next time when Ian and I decide to go back to college.
Nah, it's going to be when we decide to go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Screw higher education, man. I'm going for higher dumbication. Those are words. Take her easy. Goodbye.